Walter Jones, Pro Football Hall of Famer, top 100.
Tyler Lockett from the Seattle Seahawks.
DK Metcalf from
Nate Burleson. You're watching NorbCam.
NorbCam.
You're watching NorbCam.
Hey everybody, this is NorbCam coming at you on this Monday, April 13th with some sad news for the NFL in general, but especially for Seahawks fans. Breaking news today that Tarvaris Jackson, the former quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks, was killed yesterday evening in a car crash near his home in Alabama. Apparently, Jackson, who was 36 years old, was driving. No other vehicles were involved. It was a single car crash about 8:50 p.m. local time in Alabama, driving a 2012 Chevrolet Camaro. The car left the roadway, struck a tree, and then overturned. And then Jackson was brought to a local hospital where he was pronounced dead. So have not seen any additional details as far as what caused him to for the vehicle to run off the roadway, if there was any alcohol or anything like that. Did he have a seatbelt? These are questions that always come to mind whenever there's a fatality that don't involve other vehicles. But sad news nevertheless. So of course, condolences to his family. I believe he was survived by his wife and 3 kids. And it's just sad news, in a day when, nowadays everybody's just talking about, it seems the coronavirus is everything we're hearing about on the news. Other things happen too that take the lives, unfortunately, of people too soon. So Tarvaris Jackson passed away, car crash last night, age of 36. There were some tweets, some responses. Russell Wilson tweeted, "T-Jack, you will be missed. Praying for your family. Love you, man." Pete Carroll tweeted, "Tarvaris Jackson was a beloved teammate, competitor, and Seahawk. He will be deeply missed. So heartbroken by the news of his passing and sending our condolences to his family and friends. We love you forever." Looking back, just some thoughts on Tarvaris Jackson and his career. He actually went to college, Alabama State, drafted by the Vikings. He played with them from 2006 to 2010, and then came to the Seahawks in 2011, or played with the Seahawks 2011. I remember that season. That was kind of that in-between transition period between Matt Hasselbeck and Russell Wilson. And what I remember about Tarvaris Jackson was he was a competitor. I remember he dealt with a pec injury throughout the season, and I remember he really earned the respect of the locker room because of the fact that he played through that injury. Was very tough and muscled through it. And while they didn't make the playoffs that year, I think he really kind of was a strong force behind the scenes in the locker room, despite the fact that they, didn't really succeed that season. I remember, coming off of many years with Hasselbeck, and then before Russell Wilson, there was the Seahawks without Russell Wilson for a time. I remember there was a game we played, I think it was the last game of the season, against the 49ers, and I don't remember if the playoffs were hinging in the balance, but I remember it was one of those fourth quarter, one drive left to go. If we can just go down the field and score, we could win the game. And I remember feeling it's not going to happen. Tarvaris Jackson, while he definitely had his skills, there was that feeling like, I remember in 2011, that he's just not the guy who's going to lead your team down the field and win it for you. Which, of course, the following year we got Russell Wilson, and he became the kind of guy that you could believe would take you down and win the game for you. And I just remember very distinctly thinking, we have to beat the 49ers. 49ers are tough. If we can get down the field, we can win. And I remember thinking, I had got no confidence that it's going to happen. And sure enough, I can't remember, we got to maybe midfield or not shy of that, and the game was over. So, I think his career here was, less than spectacular. However, my fonder memories of Tarvaris Jackson weren't the years he actually had the most, active play with the Seahawks. particularly that year in 2011. Let me just go through some stats with him. Let's see. He wasn't a bad, like I said, not a bad season. He was 60% completion percentage, 3,091 yards, 14 touchdowns to 13 interceptions. Quarterback rating of about 79. So he was an average quarterback, all right? But I think what he did is after the 2011 season, he left. We got Russell Wilson. He went to Buffalo for a year, but then he came back our 2013 season. We all know what happened in 2013 and played with Seattle through 2015. But I think what stands out to me as the highlight of Tarvaris Jackson with the Seahawks has to probably go back to the 2014 season, and of course the game which I certainly will never forget, and probably will remain as the greatest game in Seahawks history. You know what I'm talking about. And one thing that was key in this game, the NFC Championship against the Green Bay Packers, it went to overtime, as you remember, and the person who was always in charge of calling the coin toss in overtime was backup quarterback Tarvaris Jackson. And so he went and called that very important coin toss. And, well, I'm just going to play it for you so you can remember from that game.
Well, we are going into overtime in the NFC Championship game. Well, here's a coin toss, the very important coin toss.
Tarvaris Jackson right there in the center.
Seattle wants the ball. We want the ball. We're going to score.
Oh, man. So, and if I recall, Tarvaris Jackson was really high percentage. He had a better percentage calling heads and tails and winning coin tosses than he did throwing the ball. But that was key because that coin toss got us the ball in overtime, which, of course, led to this fantastic moment in Seahawks history. Check it out.
Protect. He's got it!
The greatest finale to a Seahawks game ever.
We're going to the Super Bowl! Oh my God! Oh my God! We did it, baby! Just like we knew you would!
Tarvaris Jackson called the right call, got us the ball to win that game. Mark Collins, my wife Jen, Kuya Burt with me.
I don't believe it! You guys actually think any better? Oh my God! What do you call that? What do you call that? You got Russell, who was having the worst game of his life, rises from the ashes to win the game and bring Seattle to the Super Bowl again.
Oh, man. Never forget it. That was the greatest game I've ever been to, and maybe will ever go to. I mean, comebacks like that just don't happen anytime. But we have Tarvaris Jackson to thank, at least partially, for making that moment happen, because if we didn't get the coin toss, Aaron Rodgers would have gotten the ball, and he had just driven the Packers down the field and scored a field goal in the previous possession. So, not as much credit given to that moment, but on this sad day, in hearing about the news of Tarvaris Jackson's death, a little sunshine, a little happy, warm and fuzzy moments to recall, and one of the greatest moments in Seattle history. That Tarvaris Jackson had a big part of that. Haven't watched that in a while. Brings me back. Hard to believe that was just over 5 years ago. It would have been 2015, late January. So it's about 5 years, 3 months ago almost. for that historic game. That game, it's so hard to kind of characterize that, because it was the greatest moment as a Seahawks fan, greatest game, and greatest week for me, because it came to where after that video, I got interviewed by ESPN because of that video, and which I never thought in a million years I'd be on ESPN, because I thought you had to be an athlete and have skills and stuff to end up on ESPN. Never thought that happened in a million years. That happened. Then ended up going to the Super Bowl with my dad, my wife, my buddies Mark and Pat, and watching one of the greatest Super Bowl games ever, only to have the ending, as you know, happen, which just puts that unfortunate, what should have been the best, greatest season of all time. We know how that all went, unfortunately. So, anyway, I guess before I sort of wrap up, and I appreciate you guys watching, and for those of you who in the chat, just a little side note with Tarvaris Jackson being here. I live in the Renton area, and with the VMAC only about 15 minutes from my house, a lot of Seahawks players live in close to this area, and Tarvaris Jackson actually, lived in Renton as well for a time. And in fact, my niece, they were next door. They lived across the street from each other, and she used to tell us stories. We'd have family get-togethers, and she'd tell us stories about what's going on, what's the latest over at Tarvaris Jackson's house. And I remember he spoke a lot of hearing a lot of late night parties, a lot of fancy cars, and seeing a few Seahawks players going in and out on occasion, especially during this the season. I just remember the time when they told me they went trick-or-treating at Tarvaris Jackson's house, and I think he did open the door, and it smelled like there was a party going on in there, if you know what I mean. But that was pretty cool, though, that trick-or-treating at Tarvaris Jackson's house. That was I wasn't part of that. I wish I could have been, but it was fun living vicariously through my niece's family, who told of that experience. They also said there would often be a lot of nice-looking ladies coming in and out of that house. I'm sure they were just friends, spending time together. But again, these are the human side of things. Just sad news. Tarvaris Jackson, who, by the way, 2015, the following year, after that Super Bowl 49 season, was the last season Tarvaris Jackson played football. He was actually a quarterback coach for his former school, I believe. Is that right? Yeah. It was Tennessee State Tigers quarterbacks coach in 2019. And so, yeah, that's unfortunate, sad news. But at least we can just try to remember the good times and the good memories that he had while he was here with Seattle. So anyway, I hope you guys are all doing well. Just a side note, I hope everybody's still continuing to practice social distancing. It's very important, and I think especially more important now because as this starts to come out news, I'm starting to hear news coming out that that we're starting to hit the peak, and that we might be hitting the peak of the death toll, and maybe this is the curve is starting to flatten out, which this is that time where I think it's even more important to stay on track, because if people start thinking, oh, hey, everything's fine, we can go back to the way it is, all that's going to do is cause everything to go back the other direction, have a second spike. So, no matter what the news says, as far as the trends, we got to stay on course if we want to have a chance of having this thing end sooner than later. Let's end it now by staying as diligent about all this as possible. And just, don't take any unnecessary risks. It's just not worth it. I know too many people close to our family, more and more people that I'm starting to know who are affected by this. And so it's a real thing. So be careful out there, guys. And, just keep watching NorbCam videos to keep yourself entertained. But for now, that's it. I'm gonna start. We have the draft, the virtual digital draft, coming up in less than 2 weeks. Roger Goodell will be announcing from inside his house. They'll have, I think, cell phone interviews with people for certain rookies who are waiting to get drafted. And ESPN and NFL Network will be co-producing this, and it'll be interesting to see how they put this together. But it's definitely going to be a different type of draft. But it does go on, so it'll be fun to watch just to see how different it is from the big fanfare, flashy show that it has become into the last few seasons. So we'll talk about that and see what the Seahawks need to do to start getting set for the 2020 season. Still no word on the Jadeveon Clowney. Latest news seems to be that Clowney is leaning towards not coming back to the Seahawks, that the price their Seahawks offered him was not close to what he wants, but we'll see if anybody else, highest bidder, takes him. So a lot to be determined, but I think Seattle's got to move with contingency plans that they will not have him as they look forward to this draft coming up. All right. Thank you guys for watching. If you like what you're watching here, hit that like button. Helps me out big time with the way the YouTube algorithm works. Of course, hit the subscribe button, and I really appreciate that. And any of the videos you see here, just keep checking them out. All right. We'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great week, and go Hawks, baby. And I think this is the time I say, see you later. Bye.